Now let's discuss that further with John Bosnitch, journalist, activist, and political analyst, joining us from Fredericton, Canada. Mr. Bosnitch, welcome to the program. This follows Norway's massive sovereign wealth fund cutting ties with Israeli banks. Do you see these moves as isolated decisions or the beginning of a larger divestment from Israel?
Well, with any luck, it will be the beginning of a larger and more focused divestment. And it shouldn't just be a divestment from Israel and Israeli made products, because in reality, there are not so many products on the international market. But it should also be a divestment program that bridges the gap between Israel and the Israel lobby, the World Jewish Congress, the organizations around the world that support Israel, that pump arms into Israel, that bribe politicians in my native Canada here, that bribe politicians in Washington, that bribe politicians in Europe. These are the operative ends of the Zionist regime, which operate outside of Israel. And until they feel the heat, then we're not going to see any change in the Israeli government policies.
Mr. Bosnich, you talk about the lobbies that are most active in Washington and also in some other European countries. How would you stop them?
Well, for example, Las Vegas. As we know that Donald Trump's financing came from a Jewish American man named Adelson, and now his wife, Miriam, I believe, Adelson, who is a multi-billionaire casino operator in Las Vegas. All casinos which are connected to leading members of the Israeli lobby in America need to be boycotted. In fact, people should not be going to casinos at all. The Bronfman's empire of alcohol, which is the empire on which the Bronfman family came to the leadership of the World Jewish Congress. All alcohol produced by the Bronfman family should be boycotted. All of these major products, and now we're talking about Nestle, we're talking about products across the world. On my social media, I've posted the brand logos and names of companies that need to be boycotted, and many of them are not based in Israel, because Israel has been very, very adept in moving its money into, especially the United States, producing goods over there that cannot be boycotted because they're not made in Israel. So there has to be a little bit of an intelligent operation by the peace-loving people of this world who want to independently boycott, divest, and sanction Israel, because Israel is bribing our politicians to stop our governments from doing what they should be doing. It made no difference that Canada, England, Australia, and a few other minor players recognize the state of Palestine. That's just a Band-Aid on a pouring wound, a wound pouring gallons of blood every minute across Gaza. What we need is the Canadian government has to boycott all Israeli products, especially Israeli military products from Elbit. We need to have the Canadian government refuse to continue any contracts for buying technology from Israel. They need to find other suppliers. If the Canadian government, the American government, and major governments across the world did this, then we would see an end to the Israeli genocide, the Gaza Holocaust that Israel is perpetrating today.
Mr. Bosnich, Israelis are talking about the final solution to the, in their words, problem of Gaza and also the occupied West Bank. Is a financial boycotting of Israeli products enough, or do you think a military intervention is going to be needed here to stop this?
Well, I heard some of the comments from one of your previous guests. I believe that the United Nations Secretary General should relocate his office to the center of Gaza City. I believe that the Director General of the Red Cross should relocate his office to the center of Gaza City. I believe that Human Rights Watch should relocate their office to the center of Gaza City. These people have been, making comments words that blow away in the wind, no effect. Let's see the Secretary General of the United Nations locate his office in Gaza City, and let's see how long Israel continues to massacre people after that. You need to have a boycott. You need to have public education. People do not know what is coming from Israel, where Israel is making the money to produce its weapons of mass destruction and mass murder. All of this has to be released to the public. It's very hard to do that because the Israel lobby has a very, very powerful controlling interest in the lying mainstream media of the West. So we are blocked on all fronts. But I can tell you, I am not a Palestinian and I am not an Israeli, but this is an outrage that outrages me as a Canadian citizen. And I know that there are a majority of Canadians who are upset about this, but they do not know how to make and take actions that could have any influence on the Israeli regime. We need our government to do its job.
Yes, Mr. Bosnitch, Israel is intensifying its assaults on Gaza City even as famine has been declared. Do you think that these kind of divestments can actually influence Tel Aviv's behavior, or do you think that they are just symbolic?
Well, you know, sanctions do work. They take a long time, and their effect is gradual. But if Elbit Systems, this is their main military industrial producer, which provides weapons to NATO countries all across Europe, in North America and elsewhere, if Elbit Systems were boycotted by all NATO countries, if the major Israeli corporations in the IT sector were all boycotted and their products banned, we would see a real result from sanctions. But the sanctions need to be enforced at the government level. They cannot be just sanctioned by you and by me and our friends and a few other people. It has to be a blanket sanctioning, a boycott, the kind of boycott that was used against the racist apartheid state of South Africa, which is very similar to the racist apartheid state, pseudo-state, an illegal state of Israel.
Yes, and my final question, Mr. Bosnitch, looking forward, could financial institutions in other European countries or maybe in the US come under pressure to follow suit?
Well, they could come under pressure if the government's led, but you have to remember that part of the power of the Israel lobby is their incredible investment in the bankster class, which rules our Western economies. So even if our governments install boycotts, it's very easy for our bankster, that means gangsters who pose as bankers, to funnel Israeli money into other sectors where we could not have an effective boycott.
Right.
So we need a cleaning up of the banking industry because they're funding the genocide.
John Bosnitch, journalist, activist, and political analyst, joined us from Fredericton, Canada. Thank you for your time, and that does it for this edition of World News Bulletin. Thank you for staying with us, and bye-bye for now.